Welcome, O Ramadan. You are honored, O month of the Quran. It is Ramadan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده سبحانه وتعالى ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله تعالى من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وحبيبه، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله عز وجل به الغمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, my brothers, tonight inshallah we will speak about a very, very important matter, a very, very controversial issue that usually Muslims, especially living in the West, face, which is the issue of the start of the month of Ramadan. How to establish the beginning of the new month, when to fast. Most of us, I'm sure, have experiences before of fasting, on 3 different days, having Eid on 3 different days, because basically there's no unity in the community and there's different opinions flying around, people coming and asking, what should we do, who should we follow, and so forth. And this is not a phenomena special to Australia. Most of the Western countries, where there's no strong political control over the Muslims in the sense of, as a Muslim country, most of the people living outside the Muslim countries are facing this problem. The matter is very, very crucial and very, very important. It's not just mere khilaf, difference of opinion between the ulama, where we can say, just follow any opinion and inshallah you're on the right track, because it has to do with Ramadan. And Ramadan is an obligation. It's a fard, has been ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no playing around, there's no handling the issue with ease. It's a pillar of Islam. And if you fast a day late, or you break your fast a day early, you've actually broken your fast on a day of Ramadan. And no fasting can ever compensate to losing that day. If you fast from the following day till Judgment Day, you will never get the same reward. And the punishment of leaving the fasting day of Ramadan, I'm sure, is known to everyone. Severe punishment by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the issue is not a simple issue, but also at the same time it's complicated. So most of the people in the public never studied Sharia before. They usually struggle with the difference of opinion. I was reading an article this morning, a very, very nice title. The author said, is it moonsighting or moon fighting? What should we call it? Because basically everyone is claiming we are following the Sunnah, we are following the Quran, we are backed by the scholars, our opinion is the most valid opinion, and the other people, we don't know where they're bringing the proofs from, we don't understand what's happening around. So it's very important that we understand the matter and follow the ulama that have been approved and agreed upon by the people that know deen and know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and people that are known to have knowledge, and specifically the 4 schools, the Shafi'i madhab, the Hanafi madhab, the Hanbali madhab, the Maliki madhab. The famous 4 schools of fiqh are known, widespread. Everyone agrees that following one of these four schools is basically, you at least you'll be on the right path, at least you have an argument on Judgment Day for the action that you have done. I'll try to make the issue as simple as possible, because it really is, in a certain sense, complicated. But because the gathering here, of course, are mainly composed of people that haven't studied Sharia, I will try to simplify the matter to the best of my ability. My brothers, the Ummah for 1400 years, the Ummah has been fasting the month of Ramadan with no problem. They had no problems, they had no issues, they had no fighting. Every locality, every region would usually go out for the moon sighting on the 29th of Sha'ban, and based upon the report then, whether they sighted the moon or haven't sighted the moon, they would either say that Ramadan is the next day or the day that's after that. Very, very simple throughout the history, throughout time, throughout the beginning, since the beginning of Islam until very, very recent. However, recently, after the improvements in science and technology and this, new waves, new calls have been heard, raised in the ummah, that now there's no need to actually follow the old school, follow the old-fashioned way. I actually personally heard one of the scholars last year or the year before here in Australia making fun of people, speaking sarcastically of people who go on the mountain in Australia after the 20th century and they still moon sighting and so forth. He was speaking sarcastically of this action. Now Allah's technology has, mashallah, improved. Telescopes are there. The people tell us when Ramadan will start 30 years from now. There's no need to follow this old school. It's an old fashion, it's an old matter. There's no need to actually apply this system that they spoke about. They spoke regarding their knowledge, and we have new knowledge nowadays that we are to follow. However, these sentences are very, very misleading. They are not a sentence of a person that actually really understands the matter, and they are not sentences of a person that knows the actual science of astronomy and that is present at our time and age. Now, how to fast Ramadan, how to start Ramadan, I'll basically brief you about the opinions that are flying around us, in our community. The first and basically very, very widespread, especially between the Lebanese community, is that we just follow the calendar and follow the calculation. The Riznama is there, the calendar is there, it's printed 1 year ago, since the start of January, and everyone is sweet, everyone is happy. We know when Ramadan will start 1 year before, and even if you want the Riznamas for the next 20 years to come, they are available to be printed. But just for the purpose of selling and that, or distributing, they are not printed yet. But we can tell you when Ramadan will start 20 years from now. Very, very convenient, everyone is happy. People that want to give, people that want to invite Australian big names to come and give, political leaders to go and give a sermon or something, can give them a date 2 months before. Very, very suitable. Everyone knows when the Eid will be, when to prepare the food for the Eid, when to prepare our holidays, our vacations. Very, very convenient. The second opinion, which is much less in number, however not less in the ulama, is that we actually follow a local sighting, which means that people in Australia, for example, will actually on the 29th of Sha'ban go and sight the moon. If they see the moon, if they sight the moon, then Ramadan is the following day. If they don't sight the moon, then Ramadan will be the day after tomorrow. The third opinion that's also very, very widespread in this community is that we follow Saudi Arabia. So if Saudi Arabia announces that Ramadan started tomorrow or whatever, then everyone in Australia should follow Saudi Arabia. Other less opinions is that every nationality will follow the country. So for example, Turkish people will follow Turkey, Pakistanis will follow Pakistan, Egyptians will follow Egypt, and as such. That's basically the array of opinions that's floating around. Usually the controversy is within these, so we'll try to stick to these opinions and see which of them is closer to the Quran and Sunnah, which of them is a valid opinion regarding the famous schools, the famous opinions that have been known throughout the history of Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was very, very, very basic with his ummah, very, very clear as usual with the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In numerous hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu made himself very clear. Rasul says in the hadith, لا تصوموا حتى تروا الهلال ولا تفطروا حتى تروا. A very, very simple hadith, a couple of words that basically finalize the issue. Do not fast until you sight the moon. لا تصوموا حتى تروا الهلال. Do not fast until you sight the moon. ولا تفطروا حتى تروه. And do not break your fast until you sight the moon. In another hadith, this hadith is narrated by Bukhari, Muslim, muttafaqun alayh, the highest level of authentication for people that understand the science. Alright, another hadith says, Rasulullah says, Sumu liru'yatihi wa aftiru liru'yatihi. Fast when you sight the moon and break your fast when you sight the moon. Very, very simple wordings of Rasulullah sallam, very, very clear for the ummah. Now, the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam also, for the purpose of, engaging in the controversy, he said a very, very famous hadith, also muttafaqun alayhi al-Bukhari and Muslim, that نحن أمة أمية. In the meaning of the hadith, Rasulullah sallam is saying that we are an illiterate nation. Alright? And bear with me, I will explain the hadith shortly. نحن أمة أمية لا نكتب ولا نحسب. We don't write and we don't calculate. الشهر هكذا وهكذا وهكذا أو هكذا وهكذا وهكذا. Rasulullah saying in the hadith, we are an illiterate nation. We don't write and we don't calculate. The month is like this, like this, like this, meaning 29 days. Or like this, like this, like this, meaning 30 days. He actually put in his ibham, the big finger, alright, when he made 29. Hinting that the month is either 29 or 30. Clearly saying, we don't write and we don't calculate. Now the ulama, the scholars say, why is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam referring to his ummah as an illiterate nation? This is not right. Now the ummah, mashallah, has knowledge and has technologies and we mastered, we actually helped the West to reach their civilization as such and such and such. These famous arguments, we say Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not mean that we are a continuously an illiterate nation, meaning that we have no knowledge and we have no information, we don't know the science of astronomy and as such. The ulama say that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wanted to emphasize that the establishing of the month of Ramadan and for every other month of the year is very, very simple. Everyone is equal in it. The PhD, the person that made PhD, the astronomer, the scientist, the mathematician, and the Bedouin, the farmer, the peasant in the normal, very, very simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this deen very, very simple. It is not complicated. Everyone is equal in terms of sighting the moon and knowing when the month will start. Everyone's witness is accepted. Everyone's shahada is valid. Of course, with the conditions that the fuqaha and the jurists have stipulated. And for 1400 years, this has been the agreed upon mas'ala. The issue of calculation, or actually following the new calculation when the moon will be born, when the moon is sightable and as such, has always been for centuries in Islam a refused opinion. Following calculation has always been a refused opinion, except for very, very, very rare occasions. Alright, some ulama say the amount might go down to 5 scholars throughout the history of Islam. Just 5 scholars throughout the history of Islam that actually agreed or approved of the person following calculation for the establishing of the month of Ramadan. But bear in mind, when they said that, like people like Ibn Surayj al-Shafi'i, alright, and people that said that, they said that the person that knows calculation for himself, it is valid for him to fast that month because of his knowledge. But the ummah cannot follow him. The ummah cannot establish the month of Ramadan because of that mathematician's, that astronomer, that person that knows hisab. Not for his opinion, it's valid only for himself. It's not valid for other people. And they also stipulated the condition that this is when the weather is overcast. Yani you can't see the moon. You can't sight the moon, then this person can fast only for himself. The rest can't follow his opinion. Now I'll just give you some names for us to understand whose opinion was as such, whose opinion was of this point of view, that you can't follow calculation. First of all, the 4 schools. The Shafi'i school, the Hanafi school, the Maliki school, and the Hanbali school were all of the opinion that hisab is not a valid means of establishing the month of Ramadan. So a person that's following calculation is actually literally going against the 4 established